Guys, welcome to our channel once again, and today our video is dedicated to all the beginners of Azure Data Factory who are new to it and who have never worked on it. So we'll talk about the basic components of Azure Data Factory, how you can start building your new pipelines, and what are the very basic building blocks of Azure Data Factory which you need to be aware of. Without that you cannot move on to create your pipelines. Okay, so once you click on the Azure Data Factory, this is the first page it will land to. This is a home page, and we'll see what all things is available in this home page one by one. Before that, in the left pane you see you have four icons. One is home page, second one is your author, where you'll actually build your pipeline using all the activity data sets and everything, and the third one is monitor, and fourth one is manage. Okay, so if you go to the fourth one here okay, yeah, in the manage one you'll see these all the options are there: link services, integration, runtime, and your git configurations. Right? So we'll go to the detail there, but first let's see what we have in the home page. So first is your create pipeline and create data flow. So even if you click on these things, it will go to your edit only, where you have to configure all rest of your items or the activities. So this is just an icon to start with. So not much on these two. Then the third one is a create pipeline from template. So as Microsoft has provided few template which are like frequently used flows which are used, and you don't have to start from scratch. You can select a template and you can start it, but you still have to configure your source, destination, and other things are still to be done, but it will give you a starting point. Sorry, this is a monitor icon. Here you have multiple options. The pipeline runs. So pipeline can be executed in two different ways: either you do a debug mode or a trigger, you can trigger it. So both ways you can see it differently, how your pipeline is executing, what are the success and failed. There are some filters available. You can choose whether you want last 24 hour, last 7 days. Those all things are here. Now the next one is a trigger run. So trigger runs, it will show only if you have created a scheduled trigger. If you have created a scheduled trigger, those runs will be shown in the second one. And the first one is slightly different, though it's a little confusing, but that is something which you are triggering manual trigger. If it's a manual trigger, it will show in the first one. If it is scheduled trigger, it will show in the second one. That's a slight difference. Then you come to your integration runtime. Here integration runtime is very important thing. If you are querying your source and destination in cloud, you can use auto resolve integration runtime from Azure, which comes ready-made with your data factory. You don't have to create anything extra. But if you are querying your on-premises servers, then you'll have to create self-hosted integration runtime, because it is in your enterprise network where Azure will not have access. So that is where integration runtimes comes into the picture for the self-hosted ones. Otherwise you don't have to create any new things. Then the data flow debug, this is also very much like your pipeline debugs. If you have created a data flow and you have debugged it, here you can see those details. Then last one is alerts and metrics. So you can create some alerts for monitoring your pipelines in case there are some failures or something which has not run. Those metrics you can choose and create alerts. That is more for, it's more for a monitoring purpose. Now let us jump on to our edit pipeline. This is where you'll be building your pipelines. So it has three building blocks: a pipeline, data set, and link services. Most of the places you will be using all three of the component, without which you will not be able to move data from your source to destination. So we'll see in detail how we are going to configure it. So this is a sample copy activity which I have already added. Now what other thing you have to configure: if you click on the tab of source, you will see these are the properties. Now first and most important is source data set. So let's click on new and try to add a new data set. Data set is what defines the metadata. Now you can see, if you scroll down here, there are hundreds of connectors available for different sources, and this is going to be keep on increasing. Microsoft will add more and more support for different data types or different sources rather. Okay, so let's go ahead and choose our data lake because my file is available in data lake. Once you choose a data lake, here you'll have to choose a format of the file type. So you can see Avro, binary, delimited text, Excel, JSON. So these are all supported file types. So if your file is not of these types, you will not be able to use it. So this is why we have to configure it first. So let's choose a delimited text here, which is a CSV format, and you just click on it and continue. Now in this page we will have to tell what is a link service. So what is link service is your connection to the source. In the previous thing what we chosen is what is the metadata of your source. You have told that this is my source is data lake and my file format is CSV. Now in this case what we are going to tell is how to connect to that source. So you say new link service, and because our data set itself is a data lake type, it is telling us what all thing we can do to connect to data lake. Now if you go to authentication method, you will see there will be three options available. So we will click on authentication method and we will see let's see account key, service principal and managed identity. So we'll talk about those things in detail, but these are the three ways you can connect. You can choose from your subscription also the lake, or you can give in manually the lake path. Okay. So we are just canceling it because we already have created one. Now we want to show how you can create a new link service. If you have not created a data set and you want to create a new link service, that is slightly different, because on that way you will have to choose. Okay, this is a trigger. Now we'll go back and we'll choose a link service. Yeah, we will create a new link service here, and again you will see the same screen. Here you have to choose what is your source type. Okay, so let's choose lake first, data lake. You can just type in lake and select data lake gen 2. Okay, now because we have chosen a data lake, again the same screen has come where we have to configure how to connect here into lake. Now let's try to connect to Azure SQL. When you try to connect to Azure SQL, it will ask you for Azure SQL authentication, username, password and server name, those things. So based on the link service which you choose, this screen will change. These are all the link service which I have in my data factory. As soon as you add a new one, it will show up here. Now you are familiar with link service, dataset and pipeline. So once you are familiar with these three things, actually you can start building your pipeline and you can choose more and more sources and destination the way you want it. So if you want to start from a new pipeline, you can just say, you can click on this plus sign, say new pipeline. Okay. And if you want to choose an activity, all these activities are available in this pan. So let's choose one copy activity here, and this is the same thing what I showed it here in the past. This other pipeline source and the sink you can configure. This is already configured one where we have configured source as a data lake CSV file, and the sink I have chosen as Azure SQL table for this demo purpose. So we'll talk about other things like how you can parameterize the data set. You can even parameterize the link services that we'll talk about in our upcoming video. So this is the most simplest form of pipeline, and this all the configuration what you see here in the bottom. You just have to configure. You don't need to memorize anything. We'll talk about all these things, the important ones. Otherwise, for a simple copy activity, you can just configure your dataset and you can execute. So this is validation. In case there is something which you have missed to configure, it will show up here. So if it is blank, it says your pipeline has been validated. It means there is no issue and you are good to execute. So let's execute and see. So any parameter if you have in your connection or your pipeline, it will show up there. Okay. So now you can see here it will give a pop-up, it's running, it's failed, or it has succeeded. Now the important thing here is you'll see three icons you will see. So right now it is queued. So once it comes to the progress mode, you will see those icons. So okay, now it is succeeded. See the first icon here, you will see all the input thing, your parameters, variable, what would you have passed. Second one is output. You can see how much data it has read. This is in bytes. So now what you see is rows read, rows copied, rows skipped. So all the information is here. And the third icon is your copy activity. Because it's a copy activity, it will show in a graphical way also. You can see data read, how many records are read, how many copied. Let's see it is succeeded. I can see my data here. You can see this has 4 records in my destination. If you notice here it shows 5 rows read and it shows 4 records written, because one record was a bad data which we have handled. That also we'll talk about in our upcoming videos, how you can manage the bad records. If you don't manage it, if you don't handle it, your pipeline or your activity will fail.